plaintiff, Deborah Lonzer, has 2 sons with Asperger syndrome. And because she and the defendant were friends, she hired the defendant to help care for her children. Deborah claims after she took her son's video games away, she asked the defendant to hold on to them, but instead she disposed of them, so she's suing. Defendant Imani Muslima admits that while working for Deborah, she agreed to take the video games. However, Imani claims Deborah only asked for them back after Imani quit. And then Imani was forced to call the police on Deborah due to her erratic behavior.
Go ahead and get started.
Your Honor, I never thought that someone that referred to me, every time she introduced me as her best friend, would call the police on me and demand that I be arrested for burglary when I hadn't done anything. I had that report with me. We met each other at a dance class, got to know each other a little bit.
What year was that?
It's been about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago.
And she began referring to you as her best friend. How long after meeting you?
About 9 months, 10
All
months.
right. Would you do the same? Did you tell people also that she's my best friend?
No, sir.
Okay, just curious. Didn't it feel a little odd? Go ahead, go ahead.
We exchanged numbers. I got to know her a little bit better, and I have 2 sons with Asperger syndrome, and I told her a little bit about them. She told me that she had experience in home health care provider, and she was out of work, and she said she had experience in that. So she got hired, and she worked with my sons for a little while. And then shortly before that time, in the meantime, my son was perseverating on his video games, and
What was he doing?
Perseverating on his.
Is that a term relevant to the illness?
Yes, sir.
What is displayed when he's engaged in that type of behavior? Because I've never heard that term.
What is happening is that there's a continual talk about it, and almost as if they're living in a fantasy world with it.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I did is I took all his games away because I was concerned how it was affecting him. And I asked Imani, can you hold on to these for a little while? And I'll come back
Okay, and that's the personal property. Let me allow her to give some background before we get into the specifics. Ma'am?
Your Honor, I was working for Deborah, and she came to my house.
Is she your best friend?
Well, I thought so, because we go to the same church.
How long after meeting her did you believe she was your best friend?
Maybe a year after, because it was a year after I really met her at the church that...
How often would you guys hang out?
We went to...
Or see each other?
Well, often, because when there was functions that I knew about...
More than once a week?
Well, maybe twice.
Twice a week for a year?
We would go places on the weekends.
Okay.
And I introduced her to my prayer circle at church because she was going through changes with her son. And when I worked for her, being I was her friend, she would tell me things.
So you all were both in prayer circles?
Yeah.
Yet somebody's gonna lie today. Go ahead.
So I became a caregiver because she was my friend, and she asked me that would I be interested in working with her son because I was out of work. And so it took a while before I could start working with her son because he was in the hospital. So I was working with her other son, who's older. He has his own apartment. And in the meantime, she had gave me...
He also suffers from Asperger's, you said?
Yes, both of my sons have Asperger's.
Anything else before we get into the property?
Well, she talked to me as a friend about her son before I worked with him. And that's why I was in possession of the games.
Okay, we haven't gotten to that yet. You tell me about the personal property that you're suing for. I assume it's the games. Go ahead.
I asked her to hold on to them because I was concerned about him focusing on them to a point where he was really not connecting to the present.
But you were intending to get them back?
I was intending on getting them back.
For what purpose? Why did you have to give them to her for that to occur?
I was concerned that...
Couldn't put them away in your house?
I have he's 17 years old, and it's difficult for me to put food away for him. So I was assuming that Ryan would try to search for them.
She was to return them when again?
I asked her would she hold on to them for a while, and I would come back for them. I didn't. There was no specific date.
Okay. When did you go back to get them?
On June 8th.
How long after loaning or having her keep them for you?
I had her hold those games on March 16th.
That's when you asked her to hold them.
Mm-hmm.
You came back June, asked for them back, and what did she say?
She said, I threw those games away. And I said, well, wait a minute, come again? You did what? I threw them away. Those games are evil. And can't you see how they're affecting your son? The conversation ensued. She hung up. I went by her place. I'm like, I gotta help this woman get a job. Let me just get a face-to-face and find out what's going on. She didn't respond. Knocked on the door. She wouldn't respond. Her kitchen window is at ground level. Mm-hmm. Opened up the window, was talking to her through the window. Pulled the window, closed, turned around, and there were the police. And I have that report on what they wrote. And
she had called them?
She had called the
on you?
Police, yes. And I was really shocked.
What did she allege in the police report? Let's see it. Ma'am, let me hear from you on the games first.
Well, the games, when she put them in my possession, we had talked about it intensely of how it was affecting Ryan. And I was really concerned for her, sir. And she told me to keep the games, but she never said what to do with them. And we had talked about it spiritually in depth, about how it was affecting her and Ryan. And when she came to get those games, months later, she came because she was upset because I had stopped working for her, because I was not comfortable with what was going on with Ryan. And when she came to my house, she came erratic. She banged on my door like the police, screaming my name just like, it was a dire emergency. And I had already hung up the phone because she was getting erratic on the phone. She scared the living heck out of me, lifting him up my window, putting her face all in my window, screaming all kinds of missiles at me, stepped over in my garden. She threatened to kick over my stuff. And I'm on the phone the whole time talking to the police because I never thought she would turn to be that deranged. I saw a side of her that I never thought that she would be, because she was so kind and so sweet. Nice lady. But that day, it was another side. And I called the police, 911, and I kept and stayed on the phone while she was there. They caught her in my window, screaming all kind of stuff at me. I was locked in my bathroom. I called them because I was afraid, and I'm afraid right now because she is a different person when she gets upset.
Well, she got that look in her eye, but ma'am, let me ask you. Did you do this?
I have evidence of all
I'm
this.
looking at the police report, and it complies with what she said.
I think you might be missing a part.
No, what I see is enough.
Okay, I'm sorry. Your Honor,
The police say you were acting erratic and all the things she described over video.
said that I was very upset, frustrated, crying.
That's a little overreaction to some video games, man.
Well, Your Honor, can I respond to that, Your
Crying
Honor?
so much that the police have to come and restrain you.
I wish they were present, but they're not. But I can explain. I don't think that if someone throws away the value of that property and you're dealing in a situation where your son, he's not well. My son likes the games. I wanted him to have the games.
No, I thought you said you didn't want him to have them, and that is why you gave them to her to hold.
My reaction probably had more to do with the fact that I was hurt. I had helped this person so much.
But you wanted them back.
I wanted, at that time,
yes.
Can you just tell me, what did I do that would make you do this to me? What happened?
You asked her for the games back.
Yes, sir. Because my son was getting better. He was on a different medication. It was helping him. He was much more calm. And I felt that these games are valuable to him. And I think that it would be okay for him to have a couple of these games at a time. As a reward, you're doing better, your attitude is better, you're behaving better.
The only question is, did you throw her games out, and did she give you permission to do so?
No, she didn't give me permission. She just left them in my possession, and she never said what to do with them. All I know is that
How long did you keep them before throwing them out?
A couple weeks. And I
So
felt
2 weeks later,
as I was working with
threw her
him,
things out.
Not 2 weeks. It was about a
You
month.
just said 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
That's not a reasonable. 3 weeks, all right. Perhaps you could have considered them abandoned had it been 3, 4, 5 months, and you would have had to call and say, come pick your games up. or I'm throwing them away. You didn't do that?
Well, I didn't do that.
All
because
right, so I'll have to grant her judgment. $750. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you. I just want to say, she said that Ryan's getting better, but Ryan came to me at the church parking lot at the end of July and threatened to kill me. So I do think I'm going to get a protection order because I'm afraid that my life is in danger. And I suggest that she never buys any of those games because they do nothing good for Ryan. And I do wish the best for her.
There's no such thing as a video game causing an illness. He already had an illness.